According to maritime safety studies, the deadliest ship disasters in history are not always the most famous. Some tragedies kill thousands, yet remain almost invisible to the world, buried by war, chaos, and forgotten records. One such disaster happened in 1948 and claimed more lives than the Titanic, yet most people have never heard its name. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to the channel for powerful true stories from history that reveal how disasters happen and what lessons humanity keeps repeating. Today's video uncovers the tragic and largely forgotten story of the SS Kiangya, one of the deadliest maritime disasters ever recorded. To understand the SS Kiangya disaster, we must first understand the world it sailed in. In 1948, China was deep in the final stages of a brutal civil war. Cities were overcrowded, resources were scarce, and millions of civilians were fleeing violence, hunger, and political instability. Transportation systems were overwhelmed, and any vessel capable of moving people became a lifeline. Ships were no longer just transport. They were escape routes. The SS Kiangya was a Chinese passenger steamship built decades earlier. By the late 1940s, it was already aging and worn, having served through years of heavy use. The ship was designed to carry a limited number of passengers safely. However, in times of crisis, safety regulations are often ignored. By 1948, SS Kiangya regularly carried far more people than it was ever designed to hold. Despite its condition, the ship continued operating because people had nowhere else to go. On December 3, 1948, the SS Kiangya prepared for what would become its final journey. The ship was scheduled to travel near the mouth of the Yangtze River, heading toward Shanghai. On board were thousands of refugees, families with children, elderly passengers, and individuals carrying little more than hope. Estimates suggest that over 3,000 people crowded onto the ship, far exceeding safe limits. For these passengers, the SS Kiangya represented survival. The waters surrounding the Yangtze River were extremely dangerous. During World War II, naval mines had been laid extensively across Chinese waterways to block enemy ships. After the war ended, many of these mines were never cleared. Everyone operating ships in the region knew the danger. Yet travel continued because stopping meant trapping refugees in war zones. This was a calculated risk, one that would soon turn fatal. Shortly after departure, tragedy struck. The SS Kiangya hit a submerged naval mine. The explosion ripped through the hull with enormous force, instantly killing hundreds of passengers who were below deck. The blast shattered the ship's structure, threw people into the air, and sent panic racing across the decks. Within seconds, the vessel was mortally wounded. As water rushed into the ship, chaos erupted. Passengers screamed, pushed, and ran toward the deck in total darkness. Many were trapped below, blocked by collapsed structures and narrow stairways. There were not enough lifeboats, and safety equipment was either outdated or unusable. Most passengers had never practiced emergency drills, and many could not swim. In moments, hope turned into terror. The SS Kiangya began to sink rapidly. Within minutes, the ship disappeared beneath the surface, dragging hundreds of people down with it. Others were thrown into freezing water, surrounded by debris, oil, and bodies. Strong currents near the river's mouth made survival nearly impossible. For most on board, there was no escape. The final death toll remains uncertain due to poor records and the chaos of war. Historians estimate that between 2,750 and 3,900 people lost their lives. This places the SS Kiangya disaster among the deadliest shipwrecks in human history, surpassing even the Titanic. Yet unlike other famous tragedies, this one received little international attention. Several critical failures combined to create this catastrophe. First, the ship was severely overcrowded. Second, it was old and structurally weak. Third, the waters were filled with uncleared naval mines. And finally, there was no effective emergency response system. Disasters like this are rarely caused by one mistake. They are the result of many ignored warnings. Only a small number of passengers survived, rescued by nearby boats or saved by floating debris. For survivors, the trauma lasted a lifetime. Many lost entire families in a matter of minutes. There were few official investigations, few public memorials, and little accountability. The tragedy quietly faded into history. The SS Kiangya disaster occurred during political chaos, involving poor civilians rather than famous figures or international travelers. There were no dramatic headlines in Western newspapers, no lasting memorials, no global outcry. History often remembers disasters not by how many died, but by who they were. The victims of SS Kiangya were refugees, and their voices were lost. Why does this story matter now? Because the same conditions still exist today. Overcrowded boats, unsafe ships, ignored warnings, and desperate people risking everything to escape danger. From migrant crossings to poorly regulated ferries, the pattern continues. The SS Kiangya teaches us a universal lesson. When desperation meets negligence, tragedy follows. The sinking of the SS Kiangya was not just an accident. It was the result of war, neglect, and human desperation. Thousands boarded that ship hoping for safety. Instead, they disappeared beneath the water, remembered by few. Remembering SS Kiangya is not about the past. It is about recognizing the warning signs that still surround us today. By history, but its lesson remains clear. When safety is ignored, tragedy becomes inevitable.